Hello, followers of the Third Way. I'm going to talk to you as myself for a minute here. Now, NintendoPivotMix tagged me about early February, and I just haven't gotten around to doing this video up until now. Now, as you know, the point of the tagged videos is I'm supposed to tell you 5 facts about myself. So, here we go. Oh, and if this isn't as good as my normal videos, sorry, but I really don't have the time to find pictures and video for all of this. Fact number 1. I'm currently going for my MFA in Arts and Technology. Now, for those of you that don't know, an MFA stands for a Master of Fine Arts. It's essentially a little bit higher than a master's degree, but it's not quite a PhD. The field of arts and technology, I can go on for about 5 minutes trying to explain every nuance to you, but the short of it here is that I work in animation and video games, with a little bit of work in emerging media and communications, such as podcasts and online communications and such. Fact number 2. I'm a huge nerd. Now, this much should be obvious, but probably time to come out and actually admit how big of a nerd I am. I have been an anime club treasurer at my college for 4 years now, which is about half my undergrad program and about all my grad years that I've done so far. I'm a certified GM for RISUS, the everything role-playing system, and I've been a gamer ever since I could talk. I mean, I actually grew up on the original NES, and I've played the gold cartridge original Legend of Zelda. So, yeah, I've been around a while. I'm a nerd, and I'm proud. Fact 3. The concept of fighting like a man actually originates from a friend of mine named Kane Miller, who was my roommate for a while. Basically, we were playing a online MMORPG that's free at the time. It's called Domo, Dream of Mir Online. It's a pretty good RPG, but it gets repetitive after a while. And we were getting bored at about this time when Kane basically had the bright idea of going into the middle of town squares and yelling at people while he wasn't wearing any clothes to fight him like a man by stripping all their armor and equipment off and fighting them with just their skills and bare fists. He didn't get too many takers on this, but I kind of became enamored with the spirit of it, and at the time I was studying up some stuff on video capture, and the two things just clicked together, and that's how to play a brawl like a man basically got started. Fact 4. I am a published author. Now, I'm not going to give you the exact title of the book, because I don't think it's in print anymore, and if you knew who I was in the book, you'd be able to figure out exactly where I live from some of the other stuff I've told you. And I just don't want to take that risk personally. Back in 2005, I got approached by someone who was writing a fantasy anthology and wanted me to do a piece for it. Now, it took me all the way until 2006 to finally just sit my ass down and basically write a novella in 48 hours. What came of that was one of the strangest things I probably will ever write in my life, which is a piece of fantasy satire with an elf named Steve Johnson. That's Johnson, J-A-H-N apostrophe S-E-N. The punctuation was to make it more elfy. And he ends up in a dispute between environmentalists and hunters over a green dragon. Kind of a weird story, but you know, it was a blast to write, and the guy that did the fantasy anthology compared it to the comic strip Mallard Fillmore. I still don't know if that's actually a compliment or not. Anyway, it's a cool thing to put on your resume regardless. Fact 5. The origin of my screen name. Now, Dyron Cates might actually seem like some kind of obscure, like, Japanese reference, or I might be, you know, just messing with the name Darren. Actually, what happened here is back when I was still doing a lot of amateur writing, I had trouble coming up with names. And a friend of mine gave the idea that I should take words that describe the characters or are in some way related to the characters and mix them up and try to see if I can come up with names for that. Well, at the time I was writing a piece of sci-fi satire. No, I don't know what it is with me and satire. And basically I had trouble coming up with a main character name. So I ended up taking the word durian, which, for those of you that don't know, is a stinky fruit with a hard outer shell, but a lot of people really think it tastes good. And I mixed it up. So if you take the U and the I and the A and you mix the vowels up, you end up with Dyron. Now, I thought it was a pretty good analog. Somebody with a hard outer shell and even a little bit down lower seems a little bit stinky inside, but when you get down to the real meat of it, he's still a good person at heart, which was a good description of the character. It wasn't until years later that I actually tasted a durian and found out that they taste like onions and are therefore one of the nastiest things I've ever tasted, so maybe the character deep down was just rotten on all levels. The Kates is actually even easier. For those of you that are Douglas Adams fans, I believe it's in Dirk Gently's books that they mention that authors should have a name that is approximately half as long, a little bit longer than half as long as their first name, so that when you put the name on the book, you can put the first name in small letters and put the second name in huge letters, and the cover is really what sells the book, it's not the content in the inside. So that was almost my little homage to Douglas Adams there. Really, the story didn't end up taking off. I literally wrote about a chapter or two of it, so about maybe 15 pages. And I just gave up on the entire thing because this is when the fantasy thing came around. So I never ended up using it, but I always liked the name Dyron Cates, so I ended up using it as my screen name. Finally, as you know, when you do these tagged videos, you're supposed to actually tag someone and spread it to 5 people so it goes on. The 5 people I will be tagging, I just picked randomly out of my friends list mostly. So I will be tagging Garafan4, KH Sora King, Wind14, Rebel Pyroflame, and Earthbound Maniac. You'll just have to see if any of those guys actually continue on with the tag. Anyway, sorry for the somewhat lackluster video. Thought I'd just finally get this out of the way. Later, followers.